Alexandria, and I will be talking about multicolored jewelry, multi-parts, and creating that puzzle within CAD. Now we have a couple people here. How many people have been working with CAD? Raise your hands. All those folks back there, I see. Got a couple more over there. So, how about bench jewelers? Work on the bench. Okay. So then you know what's involved in making multiple parts, having to compensate for manufacturing, and sometimes making the impossible possible. So let's get right into it. Technical. We're going to talk a little bit more technical for this presentation, but we can certainly go back and talk about how CAD can work in your stores or work for whatever your client's needs are. But so getting into it, I'm going to pull up my program so we can take a look at a couple of pieces. So this is one here that I did. This is a more of a vintage piece, and if you want to rubberneck around the case, there's the live version of it in here. Oh, maybe Laura can take it out and pass it round. Awesome. So this is more of a vintage inspired piece. Now I created this in multiple parts. Not only can I make this in multiple colors, but this was made in a few parts to keep that light, delicate, airy feeling to it. And it also had that airline on the side, if you can see where that shield shape is, and it has that real thin airline. And as designs are kind of evolving and morphing, we're seeing a lot more of this light, airy feeling and kind of really pushing the envelope as far as design goes. So this kind of is a nod back to vintage styling. But you'll see on the screen you have the purple, the green, and the kind of a mossy green color. Each one of these is finished individually and then assembled with a laser welder later in the shop. So just turn off the green. Take a look at the purple. So this piece here, you can see I have a bar that runs around the bottom. That is a support bar. It can also be used as a sprue. My caster can add on, something down the bottom that will allow the metal to flow, but really why it's there is a support bar. So we cast this and we print it, then cast into metal, whatever metal we're going to do, and then we finish it. Set all the stones around the top. We're going to do some hand engraving in here, set the stones. When this is ready for assembly, that's when we cut this off. That's when we remove this bar. So we don't take it off when we're cleaning the cast. We take it off after we've finished everything. We polish with it on. Reason for this, if you look at the size of this piece right here, it's really only about, I don't know, 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters. If you were to set a stone in there with this piece being independent of that, it's going to bend, it's going to twist, and it's not going to create that nice crisp airline when it's all assembled together. So I like to keep as many supports within the piece as possible while we're finishing it up. So I'm going to show you one more example of that, and then we'll get into a puzzle ring.
Is going on to her next model. The last model we just looked at, if you ask what's the reason why we would do this in multiple parts, the answer is obvious. We want to be able to make it look like it was made 100 or so years ago, just like they used to these days. The other thing is it allows us to be able to apply different color metal choices as well. And last, it allows us to easily get into the interior, the undersides. Prior to assembly, we'll completely polish and give it a nice reflective finish prior to assembly, so that when you look inside the ring, it's got a nice end result. So, a few good reasons why you would do something like this in multiple parts.
So here's another example. This is another vintage ring, and this side right here You can actually, I'm just going to delete it out of my program so you can see where we're talking about. But this is another piece that was actually created with a frame around it. Keep the frame where it is during the print, during the cast, during the finish, during the setting. We mill grained it. Everything that we needed to do right before we assembled it, we snipped it away from this cage. So that allows you to really get some small details and work with them, and then just assemble them afterwards. All right, let's get into a puzzle ring. And I expect some oohs and ahs. No, I'm kidding. We'll get rid of the settings. Ooh, ah. All right, so let's make this. So here's a multiple part ring. Now, any bench jewelers out there, you'll definitely know what's involved with making this ring. Rose gold, white gold, yellow gold. I actually made the backside solid because we did some hand engraving for our client with the birth date of her child. So you know what's involved in hand making this. It's a whole nother level in CAD, but as I start turning off these layers, it kind of all comes to light. So there's the purple and the notches that were created by that purple. And you can see that it comes up and over, it notches into the rose gold, it comes down, and right here you have a little, what do we call that? I call it an almond, but some people call it a nipple. There it is. So I'll put that one back. And again with this one, these support bars, which are also sprues, I leave those in place because if this thing turns a little bit while we're cleaning it, filing it, setting any stones, we're definitely going to lose our key fit. So support, support, support. Keep them in there. Maybe Hagop can talk a little bit about how we did the assembly on this because,
I can.
You know, as nothing's ever simple, is it?
No, it's not. Well, you know, CAD tells you this is possible. And so we followed through with the design after it was created. We printed all the individual components, and we got in the metal. We were ready to assemble this ring in 3 different colors. In the shop, we realized that it's not as simple as it looks. So we actually had to ended up cutting a few of these parts in order to weave them through the areas that needed to be weaved, weld them back together again, and fitted them into the areas that Alex provided for us. And last, the bottom component was assembled to the 3 grades in order to kind of hold them all together. And in the end, it worked out beautifully. All of the spaces, all the empty spaces were exactly the way it was designed, and certainly we also had 3 gemstones that were put into place for clients as per the client's request.
Oh, I can't take it. That noise.
I don't hear it.
Oh, you don't hear that noise? Lucky. So, so anyways, did anybody have any questions on that puzzle ring? It's a puzzle. It definitely is. How to approach it? You know, one question someone had to me was, well, how do you know after you print it which piece is what, right? Because if you were to just take this part off and you were to make these all the same color and then you cast them, you know, which is which? What is going to identify this one as the rose gold and this one as the white gold? Within CAD, you can actually, you can put a little square here, and that little square will say, this is the one that's going to be yellow gold. You can put a little dot here, and those are things that are just removed during the finishing of the piece. So, did you have a question? Why did we do it all together?
That's right.
Correct. So the thing is that the white together, you can put separate pass part, second part, so separate print.
Makes sense.
And after that you do the assembly.
Right. That makes sense. And that's what we try to do in our shop as well. Yeah.
So just put the screw.
Right. So you're working with a number of items. You're working with 100 items that are the same style. And it makes sense to do something like that because then it's a no-brainer.
Do them all at the same time.
No question.
Right.
Your guys know exactly what they need to do.
Right.
I have 600 scale.
Right.
So however we're doing.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the way you use it as a as a tool. And so
What is happening when your volume is too much? You cannot concentrate so much in one design. Suppose every day you have to manufacture 80 to 100 designs come out.
Yeah.
Example. One is okay.
Right.
Then you have to do something simple.
Then you start talking about volume.
That's a
Yeah,
wonderful
the volume.
input.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Did you want to? So the people in the back can hear it.
No,
Share his. Oh, okay. All right. Excellent. Okay. So let's see if I have any other examples in here. Here's another vintage piece. And if anybody was here earlier, they may have seen this. I bring this up because this was done in two metals. So you have the rose gold. I'm sorry, that was done in 18 karat gold, and the bottom was done in platinum. So what I'll do is I'll actually let my jewelers do all the hand work on it because I wanted to have that vintage look to it. So really all I gave them was guidelines. This had some actual mill graining on it, as well as the pave setting. So with vintage pieces, I still like to have my jeweler do a lot of the hand tooling as well. So using your sprues during assembly, we talked about that a little bit, keeping them there. Many jewelers will immediately take off the sprue. Think about using your sprue for sizings and for assembly as well. And then what Hagop touched on was making the impossible possible. So it's not always easy, multiple parts, but if you kind of plan it out in your head, you cut it up as a puzzle, it does come together. You try to use tabs, things that are going to be cut away. Don't be afraid to add things to your model because you can always take them away. It may not look pristine when you go to print it, but it is an actual working model for production rather than something that you're going to render and use, for marketing or for a website. So thank you very much.